半个钟头了，开始了，马上开始了，我待会儿录起来啊。
Thank you very much, Richard and Wax Angel. We're here to bring you the third quarterfinal of the day, and I'm very excited for this one. Terran versus Terran, full of entertainment, excitement, and especially with these two players colliding together. We've seen MarineKing already play Terran versus Terran. It was fun, it was dominating, it was very aggressive from the get-go. And I know that Gumiho is going to play similar to some degree the start of the games, which I think is going to give us a really entertaining first couple of moments. But then they're going to split two ways here, Nathanius. One player likes Med, the other player doesn't really play that as often. What are your thoughts here before we jump in?
It's going to be a completely different setup when you compare it to something like the match versus Bunny. Bunny's a Terran player that as much as he likes his aggression, he likes two-base play. Both of these guys will be very comfortable playing out long games without a lot of resources and just really hitting each other hard and fast and nonstop.
All right, well, we are loading into this map now. We can jump in to give you the first game between these two players in our third quarterfinal, MarineKing versus Gumiho. Let's begin this series. Our last two players remaining. And down here to the bottom right-hand side as the red Terran player playing for Team MVP, it is MarineKing.
好的，比赛已经开始了。我们来看一下出生点位。
Also on Team MVP, but while he's abroad, he's representing Invasion Esports. It's Gumiho.
蓝色的人族选手Gumiho出生在地图的11等方向，那红色的人族MarineKing出生在地图下方5点钟方向。我感觉Gumiho这感觉好像换了小儿多动症啊，感觉各种在动，各种在摇摆，这种如果不被砸到，也是对不起这个显示器了。就是因为他那么喜欢动，所以才能够被砸到。
Remember that with FXO. He got to a round of 8 and then to a round of 16 in his second. And now he's here for his third performance at Dreamhack. Another round of 8 performance. His MarineKing debuts for the first time at Dreamhack in the 5 years of StarCraft 2 that he's played. And we already have the two opening builds taking place here, Nathanius. Walk us through this.
各种抖来抖去抖。我们来看一下开局啊。MarineKing 这边是选择了一个先气矿再兵营，他要第一时间下 VF。Gumiho 这边是一个正常的一个死人开，应该。死人开局，先看一下你什么情况，然后再选择去应对。看到了，大门敞开。 放个农民进来，然后看MarineKing，想跑，智力被完爆了，我感觉MarineKing，等那个死神过来，可能这个下面就挂了。我怎么遭得住嘛？死神已经快过来了，在地图中间一半。这个农民必须死，这个农民不死的话，简直就天理不容了。
A Banshee opening. The Reaper will come in for the follow-up. Says like, okay, well, you didn't proxy your starport, so he gets to see that. Always nice, of course. Getting the Reaper boxed in, not too fun. Does manage to barely slip out, but he should be expecting at this point a Hellion Medevac Marine drop. That's the fastest thing that MarineKing can hit him with. He'll be leaving his base around 6 minutes, and the biggest thing you have to do is make sure they don't elevator all of it. And he might even want to get a bunker up front, like we saw Bunny try to do in his series, just to make sure it's not a full frontal assault.
好了，死神稍微跳一跳，火车来了，耗一下血。 跑不了了，这死神跑不了了，跑不了了！火车的速度还是比死神要快。MarineKing这波压过来，没有问题，应该没有问题。这个枪兵过来，可能地堡好像还没好，可以压，可以压，2个枪兵进不去。 第一宝能被打了。这个可能让Gumiho没有想到，MarineKing会那么拼。回去吧，MarineKing，可以了呀，我觉得真的可以了呀。
Yeah, he's got a Viking on the way to come support this too. That Hellions very low, one shot and it's gonna die, but we have units on the high ground for Gumiho. He has to evacuate this area.
MarineKing打得非常凶啊，后面围巾也是出来了。
A very hyper-aggressive choice of movements from MarineKing, and now that the medevac is making its way over, he'll have that high ground vision. He can force.
过来看视野，想一波强打击，但是对手这个阵型非常好啊。苦呢，何苦呢，何苦呢？MarineKing何苦呢？我怎么遭得住嘛？他为什么有时候会脑子会有一根筋搭住了嘛？这种情况居然从你在下面守着，对吧？对手也不敢下来，然后还能够牵制对方那个2矿的一个采集，不挺好的吗？他一定要冲，一定要被人打个包个圆，你怎么遭得住？
Yeah, it was definitely a good start there from MarineKing, just kind of delaying this fast expansion that Gumiho had. He would have raced forward when it came to the SCV count and the amount of money he could bring in, but MarineKing pushed him all the way back while taking his own expansion. But it is not over yet. MarineKing has loaded up the medevac full.
本来其实MarineKing如果选择的是选择在门口啊等着，那可能他的这个经济上会追回来很多啊。
Yeah, it's not uncommon at all to follow up those medevac plays with either a Banshee.
但现在这样的话就亏了，不仅兵亏了很多，而且经济上来说也没有任何优势。
So having that Viking there, always smart. It allows him to get a lot of information. This scan sees, okay, you're getting all your infrastructure.
Gumiho 很聪明啊，一个慢的一个隐形女妖，这个隐形女妖可能会给MarineKing造成一个非常大的一个困扰。MarineKing 根本没有想到对手会过来，这个火车应该是2过来的，没有操作好。我感觉MarineKing 有点迷茫啊，真的有点迷茫。
And he has no idea about this. We saw a scan come from Gumiho, who saw what was going on, but
这个女妖，我告诉你们，这个女妖至少能杀个7到8个农民。MarineKing 现在根本就没有想到对手会出女妖，根本就没想过。他现在所有的能量全部都是用来砸矿罗的。他知道自己现在经济有点落后的，所以说他要各种砸矿罗来把这个经济搬回来。
production really opens up a lot of space for MarineKing to deal a lot of damage.
还好前面预警做得不错。
All right, well here starts this process here for Gumiho. Moves in, cloaks up.
没有能量的呀 ，MarineKing。没有能量的呀，我太了解 MarineKing 了呀，这个时候被烧成马。
No scouting, gets no information, and now he's paying the price for this. Marines come up, but it doesn't matter. A lot of lack of mining time here. Great move from Gumiho.
怎么办？你这种怎么招架得住嘛？这种。第2个女妖也是过来了，2矿也要遭殃。2矿不知道有没有防空啊？应该也没有防空。啊，有个防空还好，有个防空还好。8个农民了，9个了。 各种在操作，9个农民了。
He's throwing down his armories. He's been continuing siege tank production, and now he's forced MarineKing, who, by the way, still doesn't have that third base. He's forced him into a position where he has to do something. He's being forced to attack.
MarineKing 这边要推一波了，他已经不能忍了。这波推出来，我个人觉得，如果说打正面是肯定没机会的，必须要去蛙跳。 只有蛙跳才有机会。正面的话，坦克数量你到了那边，Gumiho的坦克数量也不少。正面推不进去。MarineKing智商呀，这时候就要靠智商了呀。
With two orbitals, the Banshees are still a problem. He has one scan back home. It looks like getting close to 2. So he'll
好的， 有点智商，但是被梦中捉鳖，90以上被梦中捉鳖。哎呀，这女妖，这波投下去。Gumiho 已经上面造了，关键是造了一个宝，就等着你过来投。好伤啊！但是 Gumiho 这波农民死的也有点多啊，死了22个农民，勉强守住了这一波啊。梦中捉鳖被鳖咬，好 ，Gumiho 也要推了。战斗人口上来说的话 ，Gumiho 现在46战斗人口，战斗人口比MarineKing要多。这波推过去，MarineKing不仅守得住啊，这些女妖点坦克点起来太凶了。 不能退回去打，这个时候必须要顶出去。MarineKing 现在各种慌。其实Gumiho现在也可以不打，他有3矿的，他补农民补起来也挺快的。
For the most part, invulnerable to any push that MarineKing could make. So you just position your Vikings somewhere that he can't get a big drop, and there's very little that MarineKing can actually do from that position. But if you push out, you're allowing him to catch you on siege, maybe get a drop by. The Bile Force, even if it's smaller, is still more mobile, and picking off those units while they try to siege you is much more easy when you're the defending player.
Gumiho has a couple of Hellions here. He's going to find a Marine in the center of the map as he slowly moves out to take his third base now.
各种的在利用枪兵啊去侦查对手有没有过来，有点虚，他现在有点虚。Gumiho 机械化，他现在只要各种憋就可以了。MarineKing 必须要各种的去牵扯对手啊，自己3矿还没飞到，经济上来说现在已经有差距了。
Gumiho now third base getting fully saturated. Gas being the most important part of that base, and his 1-1 upgrades now completing.
其实如果多线空投的话，还是有机会。Gumiho 的防守啊，并没有做到滴水不漏啊，还是有一定的漏洞。
Advantage does go over to Gumiho. 125 to 123, very similar, but this is a little bit better here for Gumiho.
但你如果这样跟对手死憋的话，那肯定是不行的。你这种货过去搞毛啊！2个，一个枪兵两个光头过去，不是送运输机吗？这种。杀了5个农民也行，运输机没送掉也行。
way behind, so this won't slow down Gumiho too much. He still has all the.
待会儿正面这波就是拼谁的坦克多，就拼谁的坦克多。
So Gumiho's plan at this point, surely, to build up a very powerful army. I mean, that's what you do as a mech player. You sit down, you're on these 3 bases, you've got.
MarineKing 现在坦克并不多啊，它坦克数量并不多，只有2辆坦克。我觉得他这盘有点难打。
It's really difficult. Like MarineKing, like I said, he couldn't really move out, and he hasn't moved out. He recognizes that if he goes to take any sort of fight and he loses any more units, it's very easy for Gumiho to counterattack and kill him. So what MarineKing's basically
Gumiho 这个憋法，其实他已经其实差不多已经憋得差不多，他现在就在等攻防，2攻2防好了之后，他就可以去上了。只要你MarineKing不开3矿，那就没关系。你要开4矿的话，那我就要上了。如果你没开4矿，那我就憋到2攻2防。 这个部队憋起来，机械化憋起来，打正面真的很刚，就看MarineKing会不会选择，待会儿会不会选择去绕。他的生化部队唯一的一个优势啊，就是他的机动性比较好。
For MarineKing.
But MarineKing does have the 3 Thors, and I think the Thors are really crucial.
3个飞机场，他打算反出女妖吗？
It's not like a light unit issue; it's more of the air unit stacking issue.
Well, Gumiho's just scanned the
出那个，他出驻压。
likes what he saw.
好了，2攻2防已经快差不多憋好了，这个时候可以上了。先过来压一波，农民已经拖出来了，Gumiho打一波了要。
I mean, the spread is actually
坦克太少了呀，这么点坦克你怎么办？而且你的生化部队是没有医疗运输机的，这个3矿肯定不要开了，这波不要冲啊，这波马上给你冲，你肯定输了。这个路口千万不能冲上去，4矿放弃了呀，4矿。双方都200人口，但是从这个兵力的这个配比来看，我觉得硬来要被包个圆哦，被包了个圆，我感觉MarineKing要赢了，MarineKing赢了，打爆了。哎呀，太不冷静了！你坦克你慢慢架下来会死吗？难道？这种怎么遭得住嘛？慢慢的去蹭，对手就2个坦克，你那么心急不知道搞毛。生化部队最喜欢的就是你机械化，你这种冒进，然后坦克在你没架开之前，我直接一波冲过来，这是他最喜欢的。这波砸本就不能打了呀！啊，这MarineKing就不能打了，这波打要吃亏了呀！啊，太冲动了，双方都太冲动了。好，送光了MarineKing送光了地面所有的一个部队啊！好了，就3个雷神了，3个雷神有毛用啊？这时候。降下来，一个都不要走，一个都不要走。好了，这波打，哎，下面还在偷，但对手坦克是架开的呀。坦克架开的话，你用生化部队去偷坦克，这个其实就很不理智了。On his vehicles, but 3-3 is about to finish up for Gumiho. And as far as any other transitions go, MarineKing threw out a Raven. He's starting to get some medevacs, getting another command center for that 5th base, really trying to use, you know, the. 虽然MarineKing现在有4矿，但是对手也有4矿啊。
I mean, MarineKing from that fight that he took earlier on.
而且MarineKing之后他没有打算再继续出坦克，他就打算出雷神了。他觉得Gumiho的这个对空啊有点多，他解决不了。
It's so hard to try to kill a bio player if you're the meching one because either the counterattacks or just catching you on siege. Even if they sack a lot of their army, it takes them less time to replenish their Marines and Marauders than it takes you to actually build those tanks.
Well, 4th base completed for MarineKing, 5th one now just finished.
我觉得再这样憋下去，对于MarineKing来说还非常难打的。他这个部队只要Gumiho坦克就不要一下子架过来，就不要那么冲动的架，把2辆架过来，慢慢挪的话，那这个部队根本就完全没有办法冲上去。你怎么冲？好，Gumiho这波来，这波只要Gumiho稳扎稳打。
Well, Gumiho starting to march forward here, going to look to have a decent position.
看到怎么样？看到你也没办法的呀。对空你打不过。啊，还有一个。那还是没用啊！这坦克架起来无敌的呀！你对空打得过又能如何呢？你没有坦克，你有视野也没用啊！再出女妖，这个出女妖倒不错，出女妖倒不错。这波应该能守住啊！拖出2个女妖，拖出1个女妖，Gumiho就要退了。这个矿肯定是要被打掉的。哎，那么冲动Gumiho，坦克打就可以了呀。换家，好的。谁说MarineKing没有智商？我觉得智商挺高的呀。这时候就是要打一个机动性啊。能不能换下来？应该能换下来。高攻防的生化部队应该能换下来。现在这时候其实就可以看出啊，好，你过来行，我有女妖。你想过来吗？看到女妖直接退得了吗？直接包抄，包一个圆，退一下，对，坦克加队退一下，好的，好，只能被白打，太尴尬了，Gumiho，MarineKing有点智商啊，
play, taking the fight to the air, which is where he's dominating.
太尴尬了。
He's split in two. He just can't do anything at this point.
He doesn't even need to fight them.
好，你过来，那跟你包嘛，无所谓的。
And these three Thors, as powerful as they are not in a position.
坦克仔把你吃完，坦克。
On the run, Gumiho is bringing everything back. He will clean up a lot of this bio, but MarineKing sitting at the supply lead.
Yeah,
he's got the better tech at this point.
那波其实还是，刚才那波还是因为
at this point he just needs to rebuild his tanks.
女妖不够多啊，如果他早点转女妖的话，可能效果会更好一点。
Completely new tech shot. She's actually got the fusion core on the way. He's got.
Oh boy.
Not going to use that for a while, but at the moment he's got to be careful not to die to this push again from Gumiho. Decently sized army, decent anti-air this time around.
这三个围，这三个啊围巾下面被吃完，但是有雷神，你怎么办？降下来吗？降下来肯定不妥啊，还是打不过，还是打不过。三个雷神太猛了。MarineKing现在地面已经没有兵了。 这个四矿是MarineKing现在主要的经济来源啊。这个四矿如果MarineKing扫一把雷达，确认一下对方有没有五矿，没有五矿，他觉得还能打下去，他觉得还能打下去。
Gumiho found himself in a wonderful position here, Nathanius.
This game's put me on an emotional roller coaster, Apollo. We've been back and forth. Basically, every single battle puts the other guy.
还是，我觉得还是MarineKing自己的这个，他的这对 TVT 兵种组合的理解上肯定是有问题的。这坦克 TVT， 大家记住，坦克只要架在那边，那个地方就是你的。你只要架5辆坦克，那个地方就基本上就是你的。 这种对他炸弹有意义吗？没有意义啊。
MarineKing is in trouble as Gumiho stands strong on this base, continues
好了，这个已经长驱直入了。
in a crazy, entertaining back and forth game from these two veterans of StarCraft 2. It is over. GG. Gumiho will take map number 1.
Very intense game number 1, Apollo. That was the scrappy fest. I think we were talking about before this match. Despite going so long, we never saw either player reach that heavy Raven composition or even that battle cruiser finish. Close to 30 minutes in that game, and that's just a sign that both these guys put so much pressure on each other. But they both tried to end the game at multiple points, and that just shows how close it is that neither of them were able to find that opportunity until the very end.
Is that the right way for both of them to play to try to finish the game off at that point? Or is it okay to say, I'm in the lead, let me not try to finish the game and look for a different area? Would that have been a better choice for one of the two?
我去上个厕所啊，大家等我一下，我上个厕所。
I can pull back after I kill that base at the bottom right, at the bottom center position, take my fourth, and just max out again. Maybe trade out some of the Hellions or the tanks for Ravens. And once you have, 6 or so Ravens with point defense shown, the Marauders become useless. It shuts down the Vikings. It even helps with the Banshees against the Thors because it'll block their shots as well. It's all about rounding out to the late game tech. I think Gumiho pushed the envelope a little bit more, but still. Pretty well handled by both sides. Like MarineKing did what he needed to do based on how behind, I guess, he was from the start.
So how do you think stylistically this next match is going to go then? Because we've pretty much seen the way they're going to play. Gumiho preferring mech here over his opponent preferring bio. When these two collide to each other, you think this is going to favor Gumiho going forward, or is it clear opportunities for MarineKing against this style?
It's only tough to say because I don't actually know what the next map is. For Terran versus Terran, if we get the big map, we get a big 4-player map where the drops get crazy. Gumiho is someone that is very capable of playing bio. He's the kind of guy that will even go Marine Tank against Protoss and make it work. He's not exactly forced into any direction. He likes to play around with the Hellion Viking, but we didn't even see him use that for the early game defense. That was more of his mid-game strategy. And on the same hand, we can also say that MarineKing has shown some mech. He's obviously put a little bit of practice into it in that regard. He had a very nice safe setup against Bunny's Banshees, but it really just comes down to the preference because these guys just seem very, very well matched.
There is the towel, as Gumiho's brought it out, getting ready for map number 2. Maybe brought it out for that is the beautiful stage that we have here live in Tour of France.
打得还可以啊，Gumiho打得还可以，但是这场比赛打得还挺焦灼。MarineKing其实还是有一些亮点的。
On stage,
还有一些亮点，那个亮点还可以，我觉得。
Of Dreamhack in 2015, the two Terran players going head-to-head for a position in the second set and the semi-finals. As MarineKing from Team MVP and Gumiho from Team MVP, also with Invasion, looking forward to moving on to the next round. And every player seems to be gunning towards a fight with parting at the end of the tournament.
Yeah, the final boss, you could say, in the hunt for the first ever DreamHack trophy in France. As we are loading into map number 2, that game number 1 felt like everything that I was expecting out of seeing these two players go up.
Right.
And if the rest of the series looks as good as that, I'm a happy man.
All right, let's find
好了，稍后第2场比赛也是开始了，我们来看一下出生点位。出生在地图上方12点的方向是红色的人族选手MarineKing。MarineKing 这个人气还挺高的。
And he goes toe to toe or fingernail to fingernail with this guy down at the bottom side of Vani.
所以在地图下方，蓝色的人族选手是Gumiho。
Is Gumiho finally going to find himself with an individual tournament championship to his name? MarineKing's won a couple in the past over the years in these international tournaments. Well, this finally could be Gumiho's moment. He's had a couple of moments over the years. I think San Jose, he was looking very good at the Intel Extreme Masters a few months back. He's also reached the round of 8 before at DreamHack.
Yeah, it's a big opportunity for him, and this is a moment where Gumiho can really try to capture that foreign audience. I think
好的，我们来看一下双方的开局啊。刚才啊，Gumiho 这盘换招了，他是先期矿在兵营，那这样的话能第一时间放下 VF。MarineKing 这边是换成了死人开。这盘双方的这个开局啊，已经转换过来了。
MarineKing will be playing what seems to be the Reaper this time around, and for Vani Research Station, it's actually quite a good mech map. It's very narrow.
这个图啊，因为比较大，所以说，而且没有弯弯曲曲的路啊，打生化部队还是比较好打。三包现在的确是 SPL 那个败者榜第1名，多败榜第1 ，Sola 吗？还是不可能吧？是MarineKing 还是 Sola？ 我不确定啊。
You know, I love my Terran.
You're going to have to do some impressions for me throughout this series, mate. We won't start now. We'll do some a little bit later on as we get closer towards the end of the series. Don't you worry.
As we build the hype, I think this is still a series that will go along.
Gumiho 先去侦查一下。
I think so too.
这个农民应该是看不到什么东西啊，死神刚出来。刚是侦查撞到死神。 不过能看到死神也基本上懂了，你基本上就这个战术。哎，时间差吗？这肯定要打。好的，就算看不到下面这个基地，其实也已经能够想出来了。你这个开局也只能开基地。Gumiho是极限的一个隐形女妖啊，不知道隐没隐形，反正很极限这个女妖。一个枪兵先过来防守一下。 等火车出来了，刚好。能不能跑？这个能不能跑？啊，跑掉了。
And now it's time for preparation towards this Banshee.
这个女妖的速度非常快。我感觉这个死神还跑不了啊。
This gives you the fastest possible way to get a Banshee because you just built the starport on that naked tech lab. But the Hellion actually catching up to this Reaper. That's really nice for Gumiho. He cut units at the start of the game to get that tech up and still swats that down. So MarineKing switches straight into the reactor.
哎呀，好尴尬，没有兵。
Based on what he scouted. He's going to go for probably just a couple missile turrets, much like he did to Bunny. And then Gumiho.
切过去 OBA， 我们看一下那边。
Look at this, Gumiho's got this Hellion inside that main base after chasing that Reaper down.
一个能杀2个农民吧，杀2个农民可以跑了。走了呀，还杀3个，太过了，这个太过了，本来是可以走的，太过分了这个。
You know, this makes it even more important that he gets the engineering bay up. He's just now started it, so the Banshee should be able to show up completely uncontested. By delaying the starport, he delays the Viking. It's actually not possible for MarineKing to counterattack based on the way that Gumiho has positioned his barracks and his factory.
MarineKing 是想用围巾去防守这个女妖啊，中间是留了一条路，我觉得这条路可能要留出事啊。原来Gumiho也是传说中的陆小凤啊，这个凤的。
A good setup. Yeah, very good setup. Wouldn't mind about to pop out too if he can borrow that.
怎么办
？Damage as a Raven on the way too, but here comes the Banshee. The turrets.
来了，火车来了。
Gumiho looking fantastic already here. There's the block. There's the borrow from the wing.
哎， 这什么意思啊？这看到一个，看到一个地雷居然吓跑了，你遭得住啊？
Yeah, I mean he's got turrets on both bases, but this is still a place where Gumiho can play ball. If he has,
你送一个嘛就好了呀，你送一个火车嘛就好了呀。
He can always try to go for add-ons. We saw Bunny actually get a reactor in his game versus MarineKing, and
我这怎么遭得住吗？这种
every little bit and force MarineKing to just try to move this Viking around nonstop.
Gumiho looking for some weaknesses, and oh, MarineKing has a scan up this round.
哎，进不去吗？啊，原来是进不去。哎，那的确没我的问题，就我感觉这个堵口是火车能进去的，没想到是进不去。研究过的呀，这种。 不过你也不应该跑呀，你把那个地雷打了就好了嘛，你为什么要跑呢？
Make plays, as it were. MarineKing's been pretty happy to sit on 2 bases for a lot of these games.
Man, these Hellions have been very annoying here. They've already killed about 3, 4, even 5 Marines at this point. A couple of SCVs that have been trying to repair the structures at the front. So really nice there by MarineKing. He continues to be.
但是Gumiho虽然说这个路口啊研究的非常精准，但他的女妖也没有占到什么便宜。
Vikings to try to push this could actually work. He sends out the Banshee.
Oh, the Raven's got to be careful.
Yeah, he almost doesn't have energy. One Viking gets picked off. Very, very important. Some of these Hellions are quite weak. That auto turret actually, I wouldn't even mind throwing some dash at that to repair it.
And these Hellions continue to pressure this. The Raven's got to be careful.
算了，MarineKing这个地堡造出来嘛就走了呀。这时候还想什么呢？
And a tank about to pop. So Gumiho will defend this location.
女妖再过来看看有没有机会，但有防空塔，就稍微拖一下农民就可以防守住了。
Yeah, even with Vikings on the map, one thing I've learned from Bunny, man, it's there's always a way to get some kills with Banshees. The Koreans have shown us time and time again how they can abuse the positioning of their opposing forces, and we've also seen that switch around. You know, Gumiho started 2 engineering base. He's getting 2 extra barracks. MarineKing's going to be playing mech now, and you can kind of see both of these players are very flexible in the army composition choices that they can go for in this matchup.
Why did you think they switched it up then? I mean, Gumiho is meant to be this mech player, but he's playing bio and the other way around. Why is that choice?
4个围巾啊，4个围巾，好，终于有把雷达。
Oftentimes it comes down to preference in Terran versus Terran, and it could.
从现在这个整个局势来看的话，其实MarineKing还不错，现在这个局势还不错。
So just kind of naturally leads into mech more easily.
不过他每次啊都是被隐形女妖搞得有点烦。 他每次把运营中做到极致啊，他所有的雷达都是，哎，有个防空塔可以看的。好，终于解决了，终于解决了。这把MarineKing是选择了机械化，待会儿要投火车啊。
Well, we're going to move into the mid game then, as we have MarineKing with 87 supply, 75 for Gumiho. A little bit better of economy for Gumiho because he's on these 3 command centers. But MarineKing is really ramping up his production here. Is he looking to plan an attack here, Nathanius, around Gumiho taking his third?
从运营上的角度来说，双方其实差不多，只是MarineKing的这波兵啊，非常就比对手要厚一点。MarineKing打算墙头，墙头。 这波我感觉强弩还有机会，你一下子下来6个火车，还有机会的。蛙跳，蛙跳。
Coming down with these medivacs, MarineKing really ramping up the unit production, and here's the boost as 3 medivacs look for a way in.
6个呀，6个呀，6个呀！再去投一波。坦克肯定要走。围巾呢？哦，他还要运回去。他还要运回去。哦哟
！Not bad at all. Keeps those alive. Those 4 Hellbats and 2 medivacs. A nice little attack there from MarineKing. Not too much invested in, especially
这波其实也没有说赚到什么便宜，农民也没杀，只杀了一个坦克和一些兵而已。
More and more units are being built. Vikings, Hellions, tanks.
现在MarineKing这个他这个人口啊，其实是有点虚的，他全部是在靠火车在堆啊。这种爆火车流的。
Could be massive for MarineKing to tie this up. Gumiho just doesn't know what's going on.
MarineKing has cut an incredible number of corners to make a push work that you do not often see. And while Gumiho has that mobile army, there's so many Hellions because he hasn't put the resources in.
哎，坦克会不会被抓？上来抓坦克，但是后面有一波火车，你怎么办？有波火车。哦，这烧的爽啊！直接投，该怎么MarineKing气势如虹，全吃。那边死线农民倒无所谓了。MarineKing肯定要打一波了，这个时候人口上就战斗人口上是绝对的优势啊！强投进去，真的有点难守。
I think at this point he can try to land the Vikings on top of the army. He can just drop all the Hellbats. There's so many Marines in this army for Gumiho. The Hellbats are going to kill them all within a single volley or two. He doesn't necessarily have to use the Medivacs to get on top.
好，强投了，已经一根筋了，已经不管了。但是我觉得并不是说一定能投得下来。强点运输机投下来了，强行绑进来。哎呀！ Gumiho 拉扯这个机枪兵的阵型啊，拉扯的非常不错。他是走了一个圆让你进来，每次MarineKing我感觉都是被包一个圆。强点，现在光头又不怕你火车侠，可以操作，再投，漂亮，这不漂亮？哇，这枪兵烧的。 这枪兵烧你怎么遭得住？还是吃下来了。
I feel like I'm watching a replay of Bunny versus MarineKing with trying to stop these big drops, but somehow Gumiho's units are just they're just doing.
好了，这个就没得打了，这个真的没得打了。我刚才那波烧枪兵烧的有点好。
That was an absolutely remarkable hold there from Gumiho. He marched out, lost his entire army.
现在MarineKing已经没有任何制空的能力了，而且自己的这波兵啊，不足以推过来，不足以推进，而且农民也是非常少啊。
What a play! What a defense!
So mind-blowing the way that he handled this because MarineKing's army just did not look stoppable. I really.
哎，我没奶，我靠！你告诉我怎么奶嘛？这种局势，妈的，这种局势MarineKing怎么可能赢？那老子专业解说敢下判断的好不好？
Another expansion that you can take. He has no static defense to stop any potential counterattacks. He's been vulnerable to drops this whole game, but now that Gumiho can be the one that's out on the map, there's nothing to stop him from just doing big drops between all of his bases.
Gumiho absolutely.
哎呀，Gumiho现在Gumiho要九死一生了呀！3传还是4传运输机？我MarineKing2矿这边投，2矿这边MarineKing肯定没有防守的，2传也够了。 你怎么办
Just the Hellbats, no Medivacs to heal them. Gumiho can focus these down with his Marines and Marauders, and look, all these tanks on siege. He's blocking him out of even trying to move down there.
农民已经死惨了。
Actually, Gumiho could lift inside of his own Medivacs.
死惨了，本来经济就差。
I think I'll just go somewhere else now.
MarineKing killed 8 SCVs there, but it was Gumiho who landed the 16. He killed twice the amount.
这盘MarineKing如果能翻回来，
When you have 60 plus SCVs.
这盘如果MarineKing能翻回来，那我
MarineKing's at 25. He's broke.
那我待会儿，我今天就播完好不好？今天决赛都播完，你们不要再说了。这盘如果能扳回来，我不信了。这种局势怎么可能扳得回来？啊，太二了，这阵型又被坦克又被吃完，火车侠在后面，坦克在前面，这怎么遭得住？我接了一条直线。 GG.
Exceedingly impressive play from Gumiho, going up 2-0 now against MarineKing, handling a style that looked so strong. I was convinced that MarineKing, after shutting down that big push outside of his natural expansion, I was convinced he was in a position to go for the counter and take the game, but Gumiho just proving us wrong.
Wonderful play here from Gumiho. Fantastic defense. Great solid play in both matches now. And MarineKing's looking like he's finally met his match. We talked about how
2比0了，Gumiho 2比0了。
He's had an easier run than a lot of the other players that are in the quarterfinals, and now he's going up against the hardest challenge yet, and he's not being able to compete with this guy.
Gumiho has just done a really phenomenal job of handling everything. The way that he used the Banshees. When you recognize that your opponent likes to play 2 base, your Banshees don't have to kill a lot. 1 or 2 SCVs, but take away all the scans that you can. And you have a Terran with very few SCVs, no mules, and meanwhile Gumiho is just slowly building up a defense. And all he needs to do is defend. He doesn't have to go deal crazy amounts of damage. The Ravens certainly helped, but he really had everything under control, even though he lost like that one big fight.
And now MarineKing has a very tall task ahead of him. He's competing against a player that just is looking so very dominant right now.
3包还真是有点惨，这种难得进一次8强现在比赛就被打成这样。现在真的我是觉得3包这个现在这个体系下，3包这种打法。 他已经就是说，他已经非常明白自己靠以前这种单线操作已经不可能再打出一片天了。但是多线也不是说他的强项，然后只能自己去改变自己打法。这改变自己打法就等于说是放弃自己的打法，放弃自己信仰。
You've got to be able to prepare and deal with everything that's going to be thrown at you now. Very important moments here for MarineKing. He's traveled a long way to compete at this, obviously looking at a much deeper run than just a round of 8, wanting to go further. But Gumiho is the better player at the moment on that stage that we can see. Moving forward, Gumiho has reached the round of 8 twice before. This would be his first semi-final.
他们现在各种解说，各种在拖时间。妈的，现在才5点，现在才11点。 他们本来这场比赛是现在才开始的，现在但是已经2比0了，慌的要死。现在。
It's so tricky because I really tried to get a good idea of where these players are, but neither of them seem to have many crutches. They're both so flexible, and we're going to move on to potentially the last map.
好的，双方第3场比赛已经开始了。我们看出生点位啊，出生在地图11点钟方向是红色的人物选手 MarineKing 3包。 正在地图1点钟方向的是蓝色的人族选手 Gumiho。
So far today, this is looking like we could have our third 3-0, Nathanius. Very one-sided games. Hopefully MarineKing can provide us with some quality to turn this one around.
嘎姐已经被海皇干死了呀！海皇这个没人性的，也遭到了报应。我发现 TVT 现在就2个比较主流的开局，要么死神开，要么气矿，快速的就第一时间下 BF， 就这么2种开局，你没有第3种开局，第3种开局的话就不合理了。MarineKing 这盘又是一个先气矿再兵营，那就第一时间出 BF 这个开局，这个开局其实变化还挺多的。
Gumiho even knows that it's coming, and it's one of the things that makes maps like this volatile and a bit more interesting when we see them pop up in these longer series.
Has there really been any flaws that you've seen from Gumiho so far of these last couple of games? It just looks so incredibly.
Gumiho 探路还非常早啊，非常早，而且运气也不错。哎，看对点，我刚刚说你运气不错，不可能把。我告诉你，不可能的，好不好？这个图是有这样的一个特点的，要绕一下，是要绕一下这个图啊。 这是地图的设计。这种时间点怎么可能探对点嘛？
Sees this very fast gas first build, Nathanius. And MarineKing has been spoiled already with his opener.
Gumiho, though, as this Reaper comes out, it's very important for him to pay attention.
我不懂篮球，你们不要叫我预测篮球呀！我不懂篮球，你的足球我还能预测一下。
He wants to go for this fast Reaper style. And with this, if he goes for the fast Hellions,
死神，好的，死神过来了。
them into a big push on top of that base, it could be really difficult. He could bop them the same way that he did against Bunny when they played on Echo yesterday.
也没有，你说这死神能够干嘛吗？也干不了什么东西。对。 郭明勇很聪明，他死神站不动，等着你的死神出来之后，然后追击你。看到了，回去，先回去。对的，两个死神啊！我感觉三包的智商要被爆。哎，第一时间没有发现。哎呀，我感觉这个难道就是传说中的傻人有傻福吗？ 完了，古米后在那边等了半天，妈的，三包居然是探错路了。第二点他还能探错，你信不信？他第二点都探错了，我怎么招得住？本来已经天罗地网了，居然会这样。
Factory down for Gumiho, almost finished as the starport's on its way for MarineKing. Still hasn't found his opponent, and unfortunately he's gonna have to go all the way to the top right now.
这个，我觉得古米后就尴尬了。现在
Reapers can go inside. He's very safe with his command center now finished up.
这两个死神前期出两个死神一点用都没有，一点点用都没有。
The cardinal problems when you're going for these gas first builds that you usually don't send the SCV scouts, so you get into this tense position. The Reaper jumps up, but it's like,
但是智商低总是要付出代价的，终于是杀了一个死神，这个也是算是出两个死神的这个意义也算达到了。三包操作出问题了，没有看。 这个绝对赚了。好了。
These three Hellions cannot run past that. They just lose everything there. But there's the switch up. The starport's going to go onto this tech lab, and we are going to see Banshee production more than likely coming out from Gumiho.
He's going to go straight into tanks on top of this. And if we look at the setup for both players, MarineKing just has that one gas. So he wants to build a lot of Hellions, get a lot of mineral income, build a lot of Hellions. Can't go double Viking. But maybe when he starts to saturate that natural hill.
古米后这个死神可能还能够起到最大的作用，就是侦查。这个死神应该能够侦查到MarineKing家里面在做任何事情。这个农民2个3个了，4个，但你回不去了呀。
He has to pull his SCVs and mules to defend that bunker, or around that bunker, to protect themselves.
Yeah, he has the Reaper.
强行穿。
This bunker Marines gets 1, 2 Hellions, so gets a couple of
就这样的一个交换下来，我觉得MarineKing也不赚。他又是那种爆火车这种打法。
It's just about to finish.
And this Banshee going to make its way over very shortly.
Yeah, he's starting the turrets now.
这个隐形女妖又要给MarineKing带来困惑。我觉得打MarineKing啊，隐形女妖总是能够占到便宜。MarineKing因为它不留能量的。
Building the siege tanks with the second factory only now being on the way from MarineKing. He's very far from having tanks, so it could even be Gumiho's plan.
好了，看一下MarineKing有没有留能量啊，这个很关键。照倒了一把，哎呀，招错了呀！有没有能量啊？反攻塔已经好了，这盘纪律性非常好。 人家有隐形的好不好？主矿有没有防空？ 有，好，可以，这盘反正就比前2盘要好多了。
MarineKing has played with this style and only going for 2 bases. Gumiho does not need to kill a lot of SCVs. MarineKing wants to cut workers as early as possible so that he can.
这个农民死的数量完全是可以接受的。
Medevac play. The more he has to spend rebuilding workers, the more he's slowed down.
在等雷达。
to defend a 2-base push.
And there's the scan. Does get rid of the Banshee.
啊，第2把雷达也，第二个女妖也过来了。哎，什么情况？古米后什么情况？我MarineKing也傻了，第2把雷达，这个可以接受。
The consistent tank production, though, the really nice thing about this for Gumiho is that the tanks can cover everything that might try to run by him now. He still has the bunker in the front and just.
现在古米后只能前期2个死神啊，并没前期2个女妖并没有占到相对的一个便宜啊，所以他现在只能憋。而且他知道对手是一个爆火车这样的开局，待会儿又是一个空投火车。
So MarineKing doesn't have too many options at this point.
占领制高制空，然后各种的空投火车，这个打法其实还是很猛的。
But as you can see over here, Gumiho
他现在只能先憋，他根本就不可能开矿。开矿的话，很可能是被一波打死。
With the addition of these barracks, he's gone up to a total of 5. Tank production started quite a while ago, and he also has this Raven for support too. He's going to be building towards quite a beefy army himself shortly.
因为他知道现在我这样防守，马云肯会自己送兵送过来。
Because of that, as you pointed out, he has a lot of production. And what Gumiho could be thinking to himself is, all I have to do is stop the first attack now. And because
空投过来了，我们看一下这波空投啊会有什么效果。对，不要出去，就在这个地方周围架着，等着马云肯来冲。
And this is where MarineKing tries to make a big play. He's got the blue flame only just
就打了3盘 TVT 啊，我就感觉MarineKing的打法是比较偏向于进攻的，他还是喜欢去进攻对方，并不喜欢防守啊。 8个火车投下来，投，好，直接全部烧光。变火车侠，你变火车侠我就觉得有点看不懂。你这种时候，你变火车侠就等于你让对方各种去拉扯你，没有用的呀。 这波送的有点莫名其妙啊！刚才那个时候，其实烧了下面那波枪兵的时候，可以选择回救的。
And MarineKing realizes, like, I'm probably not going to be able to kill you, actually. You have a lot of stuff. So third command center starts up for him. He realizes that Gumiho went for the production first, and because of that, he should not be able to win a straight-up fight anytime soon. Gumiho is saying, well, how many tanks...
Gumiho 现在自己坦克数量上有优势啊，所以这波推出去还是很有威力的。马云肯这个3矿甩的有点随意，我估计他这个3矿可能要被强行退掉。
MarineKing sees that the army is gone, and now he's got
2个坦克，你怎么办？
I'd love to see if he can
你怎么办？2个坦克你怎么办？
throw down some secret missiles.
架开，对手可是有5个坦克，直接 A 过来。还有个无人机。好了，这直接一波捅穿了。一波捅穿了。刚才那8个火车真的是送的太伤了。
And now he has to deal with this counterattack, which he isn't dealing well with.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, Gumiho defended so well.
我就不明白马云肯为什么每次对手也没有开3矿，他就对手也是2矿，为什么你可以去干别人？ 就不给人活路啊！这种就是。
He's in fantastic position to move to his first semi-final at Dreamhack over the years, and MarineKing's in so much trouble. He's lifted his SCVs back into his main base, but he's on 1 command center. He has to rebuild it.
这个虽然救上去了，但没有用啊！太多了，坦克太多了。 好了，这个没得救了。神仙难救了，这个时候。坦克加这一步了，就基本上已经掐住你的咽喉了。
Just feeling it out now.
He's feeling it out in a classic MarineKing style.
还要往上架，Gumiho有点狠。兵已经接成一条直线了。的确，这个的确就实力上打不过Gumiho。Gumiho的确的 TVT 啊，真的有点强。最后死亡冲锋冲一波。 平推了，已经平推了。
As he takes the 3-0 and will move on to the semifinals here at Dreamhack Tour, picking up and moving around his last units. GG Gumiho wins 3-0.
哎呦，这个MarineKing这个 TVT 打的真的是，我们并不是说Gumiho打的有多好，只是MarineKing打的太那个，太迷幻了。 今天3场比赛，3场都是3比0，你怎么遭得住？
All right, now let's hear some words from the man himself on stage with Smix. It's Gumiho.
好，我们来听一下采访。我稍微的休息一下，我们听一下采访。
Guys, it's like we're on a spree today. Another 3-0. Congratulations.